If you look at this, a couple of the trends leap off the page. First off, Vol is getting annihilated pretty much across the board, with the exception of one name, which is right at the top of our list, which is kind of wild. And then also, if you look at that, Vol annihilation theme continues. This report will also show you the trend for the week. And outside of, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days total amongst every trading day for every product this week. Only 5 days were actually green. That means Vol only increased for 5 days total out of all the products we're looking at here. So mostly red on the Vol screen this week. Again, with the exception of our first complex here, which is FX. 8.93 is where FX is hanging out right now, listeners. That's off actually 0.06 today, which is actually a decent move for FX. But on the week, it's at a range of 8.48 to the downside and 9.12 to the upside. So again, coming off its highs of 9.12, but the only product on our list this week that is pretty much close to the upper band of its range for the week. Everything else pinning the needle to the downside. Right below it, we have the Treasury price vol hanging out at 6.06 today, off 0.13 today, and that is the low for the week, the high 6.54. Below that, we have the Ag Products aggregate C-vol, listeners, 2142, off about a quarter of a point today, and that is the low for the week, the high 22.84 on the week, listeners. Below it, we have the aggregate metals C-vol, 1784, almost off 3/4 of a point just today, so they're taking it to the woodshed today. That is the low for the week, the high 1991. So over a 2-point decrease in metals vol just this week. That is a lot for the metals, listeners. Below it, we have the commodities aggregate C-vol, 3720 today, off 1.1 points just today. That is the low for the week, the high 46.96. So commodities aggregate vol also coming in almost 10 points on the week. So again, keeping with our theme of vol annihilation, commodities also one of the few complexes here to have no green days at all this week on the vol front. Vol was red every day this week, hence that massive change in vol over the course of the week. Below, we have the aggregate energy C-vol, 53.14, off 1 3/4 points today. And again, another complex where the vol has been red all week. That is the low, obviously, for the week. The high 71.1. My goodness. So almost exactly an 18-point decline in energy aggregate vol. Can you guess why, listeners? A little bit of a ceasefire in the Middle East will do that. My goodness. That is a huge vol move in the energy complex in just 1 week. And then bringing it home on the Treasury yield vol, listeners, 109.63, off almost 3.5 points just today. That is the low for the week, the high 116.57. So again, a big move in the Treasury yield vol as well.